Dallas, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you on Power Talk, and I can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And we just came in with Sarah Vaughn, In Love in Vain, and just an absolutely delightful rhythm section of Andy Simpkins and my guest. Had a really great conversation with my guest last week, and looking forward to doing it with you again. Looking forward to doing it with him again. Harold Jones, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you, Jake. It's my pleasure, man. I don't know why you aren't on even more, because it just seems like this kind of show is non-existent on any airways.
Harold, it is. I've been doing it 7 years, and I just don't know. There's nothing like it in the world. But I don't know if you can format it into corporate radio, and I think that's the biggest. I mean, just the idea of you saying, literally, your concerts with Sonny and Johnny Griffin were broadcast on the radio, regionally. I mean, that's almost like they don't do that, and that just seems like,
right. Yeah, right. And I mean, when a DJ was on the radio playing a record, he could name everybody in the band on the record.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and just to be clear, I mean, you don't. I mean, if people call me a DJ, I'd want to slip my wrists. I consider myself.
But nowadays, yeah.
Yeah. No, I love the long form interviews, especially with the Cats, and like, but it's straight ahead, man. I mean, can you talk about? I just wanted you to clear something up for me, because I've transcribed a bunch of our interview already, and when you were with those guys that were older than you, like Hunt and Pierce, what instrument were you playing? Joe Hunt was drumming at that time, so what instrument were you playing?
Right, I was a drummer. I was a second chair drummer, which I played very little. Because Joe was physically fit. But I was the second chair drummer, and they let me play a tune almost on every set, and start me off on ballads or something. And I didn't mind it at all, because I was getting to hear all this brand new, great sounding music. So I didn't mind it at all.
But just to be clear, I mean, when they basically had you along, and you were sort of in an apprenticeship kind of mold. Is that how it was?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't remember this group playing gigs. We had homes that we went to, and they played. Okay. So I just was Hunt. I mean, but these guys, Hunt was these cats were wearing sunglasses at night, right? I mean, this is the man. I love this stuff, dude. This is, and yet you. I just want to be clear. Like, growing up in Indiana, you weren't really hearing. Well, you weren't really hearing the sounds of Bird or Diz at that time, right? I mean, is that fair to say? Right. That's right. That is true. Only music I heard was at home, where Dad was into people like Lena Horne or Tiny Bradshaw, or would Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Billie Holiday. So that's the kind of music I ended up hearing at home. Yeah. And
so that just must have blown your mind. I just wanted to ask you, I don't know if you know this, I just read on Facebook this morning that Calvin Newborn, the guitar player, Phineas Newborn's brother, passed away. Did you ever cross paths with any of the Newborn cats?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, this was a heavy group of cats, but I mean,
yes.
The one thing I wanted to start with on this was, what's really funny is I interviewed a couple of the guys from the band War, Harold Brown, the drummer, and Howard Scott, the guitar player in the original band War, and they used to back up a guy, the football player, Deacon Jones, who used to sing at the Paper Doll in South Central Los Angeles. And so those guys got their feet wet backing up the football player, Deacon Jones. But your brother, Melvin, was also known as Deacon Jones.
Right.
And
right.
I really, and
he was a founding member of Baby Huey and the Babysitters. That is some of the funkiest music I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I would. Can you talk about you and your brother? Like, I mean, he's 3 years younger than you, but I have to believe that there must have been some serious jams going on between the two. Can you talk about your brother a little bit? And
I think it's 5 years difference between. I think.
okay, so you were born in 40, right?
Yes. Yes.
They're saying Melvin Deacon Jones, 1943.
Oh, they are.
That's it again. That's Wikipedia, but it says December 43 to July 2017.
You know what? Then I'm going to have to go back and check myself. Yeah.
Go check the birth certificate, man.
Yeah. Because the reason I was saying all that is because in school, 3 years, I was saying 5, but it was a big difference. You know what I mean? He was never around with my group of kids or musicians that I hung with.
So even though it was 3 years, doesn't seem like a lot today. At that time,
Right.
it was Could you talk about his legacy? I mean, he left us last year. What, if anything, did you? I mean, were you guys tight? I mean, did you have a lot of respect for each other?
We were tight all the way through most of the life, right up until my mother had to go into a seat. We're both on the road, and he says, well, then I'll do it. So, and from that day on, we had trouble speaking.
I just want to be clear. She went into a senior living home. Is that what you
know
said?
how family things are. Just like family things.
Right. So he took on the responsibility. And where was she living at the time?
But she was in Richmond, Indiana. That's where Melvin and I grew up, was Richmond. But Melvin was living in Clay. Yeah.
Right. So then, and so there was, but he was somewhat. So I mean, did you have a chance to say goodbye to him at all?
Oh, no. When he passed away, I was in Europe, and I got the news when I got off the plane when I landed. That was how I heard. Yeah. So no goodbyes.
No goodbyes.
No, didn't know that one. It was coming that quick. And so anyway, but it's all okay, and everybody's good. Everybody's cool.
Did he have? Did he have? It's Baby Huey. That was that over time has that band has grown with younger cats. Those records. He played with Greg Allman and Elvin Bishop and Lester Chambers and Buddy Miles. All these cats. It's just so funny because dear friends of mine like. Oh man, I'm blanking on his name. I told you in the when we were off air, but like Billy Vitt and those guys in the Marin County area. I mean, did you have chances to play with people in and around the Marin County area ever? Those guys seem to know you so well. I know you've been living there for a while, but did you get to play with, I guess, what you would consider maybe more like psychedelic blues or rock players?
No, the only blues guys I play with out here, well, I jam around here with Elvin Bishop because he lives right down the road a piece. And there's this Thai Blue band from the Dixon Ranch with Walt Dixon. And then back in the day, there a few years back, there was Luther Tucker had a band around here. But they've mostly been blues. Yeah. The jazz cats I played with around here were a lot. And I had to go back to thinking now.
Well, I mean, can I try to? I mean, was it like Jules Broussard or was it like Norman Bishop? Those cats?
Yeah. Jules, a beautiful person that needs to be named.
Can you talk about those kinds? I mean, I'm trying to figure out because I mean, to me, like Hadley Callum, all these guys were like salt of the earth, like super important people in our cultural heritage. I mean, how did you connect with those guys, or when did you connect with them, and how did you connect with them?
Well, when you're gigging around town, you just meet guys when you're at the clubs and whatnot, and it ends up word of mouth. Who needs a drummer? And and or somebody starting up a band. You know, it's kind of like that word of mouth. In my case, my wife is catering, and she worked a lot of private parties, and they had no idea who to hire for music. And back then, our kind of music was a party music, and background music. Yeah, and so she got us a lot of gigs like that. We got them through the caterers. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I have a tune here for you. We came in with Sarah Vaughn. Did you, there's just you and Simpkins. Simpkins was, again, in that more, again, you would call it a house jam band, right? I mean, the one with Hunt and Andy and those guys, you weren't gigging per se. You were just playing in people's houses.
When are you talking about?
I'm talking about back in Indiana.
Back in Indiana, Andy was playing a lot with that John Pierce. Oh yeah, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was mostly in people's homes.
So he was mostly so when, like, did you have a chance to? How did you guys connect with Sarah? Was that like during Basie's time? Were you on bills with her? How did you wind up connecting with her to make that album and tour with her?
Well, Andy and I came to her from different directions. She had heard me with Basie's band, and she hung with Basie's band whenever it was around. She ended up marrying Wayman Reed, trumpet player on the band. They were married a hot minute.
A hot minute, dude. I dig.
That's how she heard of me, and then I think she must have heard of Andy. She used to hang out and go to clubs and hear different groups, and Andy was with the Three Sounds.
Oh, Gene Harris.
Gene Harris, yeah, and she heard that one swinging, and she got him. So yeah, that's how we kind of got together. Yeah.
Like, could you talk about, what it was like to play with what was her leadership style like? I mean, was it a lot of kind of nonverbal communication? I mean, did she really let you guys just sort of play what you wanted to play, as long as it was swinging?
Absolutely. I can't ever remember Sarah telling anyone how to play. Not at all. I mean, she might make a suggestion if a brand new song was coming around. She might make a suggestion, like, you want to try it on brushes first or something like that.
Right.
But, no, she never told anybody how to play. That's why we always felt like we were doing it ourselves. And, you play your best. When you're not thinking for somebody else, you're thinking for yourself. Yeah.
You can talk. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like there's a lot of cats today, and I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but, I mean, there's a lot of leaders today that like to micromanage the rest of the people in the band, and I think the most important part of a band or a leader is bringing in people who the leader's gonna let them be themselves, and I mean, who was the best? Like, did you ever work for somebody that was a micromanager? I mean, did you ever work? Because everybody you worked for seemed like they were pretty secure with playing honest music. And they were going to allow the cats to play. I mean, obviously, you didn't. They wanted you to be on point. But did you ever have to deal with the micromanaging part of it? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Honestly, I never really had to deal with it. And the guys I was with, I wanted to be with, and all of that was good. I can see how there were days back, like maybe when I was gigging with some of the society bands. I knew I was doing it for the money. And that's the only time I even ask, how much does it pay? Yeah. Mm. So, but no, I've never had any problem. I mean, I've been fortunate in my life with these kind of people have made me a better person. When you mention Count Basie or Ella Fitzgerald, or Sarah Vaughn, and Tony Bennett, and Natalie Cole. She's one of the few younger than me, but yeah, and I've had some great ones. Man, the first one you played when we talked before, Marlena Shaw.
Oh my! That is the funkiest. That is the hard. Do you have that on record, by the way? That is the hardest record to find.
Yes, I never knew there was one.
Oh my God! Full on press, dude. They pressed every. Bobby Humphrey was on that the flute player and Woody Shaw and Bobby Hutcherson. That was a transcendent Montreux Jazz Festival. I can and that to me was just so beautiful. I mean, I Marlene is somebody who I've been looking for her for a long time. She came out of the church.
Yeah, she did.
Did you? I mean, Harold. Can you talk a little bit about? Like, I know that it's a little bit different, but I'm obsessed with this. When I was talking to Kenny Barron, he used to, he said his major. In the most important thing for him in today's when he's on the bandstand is to touch people's hearts, and I think probably people like Tony Bennett are like that too. You want to make, you want to give them emotion, but he said that he saw the first time that his heart was really moved. He saw John Coltrane's quartet in I think at Peps, possibly in Philadelphia, and then McCoy and Jimmy Garrison kind of left the stage, and Elvin and Train went back at call and response back and forth for about 40 minutes, and they never repeated one idea, and it was just sheets of sound. And can you talk about, in your mind, if anything, I mean, not did you get into a situation where you were trying to understand that music? A lot of people actually credit Elvin for the sheets of sound. And I just wanted you to talk about, how you, whether or not you incorporated it or not into your own playing, that time period when, like that, when I hear Pierce, that those anguished cries, that those sheets of sound. I mean, can you talk about what you thought of that music and how you incorporated it into your own playing?
Well, I even those that kind of question. That's why I did end up loving and learning to play with my eyes open, because when you're hearing those sounds of these guys that are creating sounds,
right?
You'd like to see if it was in stress, if it was in pain, or if it was in a beautiful creative thought coming up, or if he dropped the horns. So that's why I never got that deep as the cats like Elvin Jones. See, I was always playing with the group, and I got to say it was more like a business, not a business, but playing as a unit. Yeah. But I loved Elvin. I'd go to see him anytime I was in the same town.
Can you even though you were, like you said, you were playing I guess I don't know what you just said, gigs. You're playing gigs. What was Elvin doing to change that Stanley Clark said that to me. He's like, the biggest secret in music is that the rhythm sections are mainly responsible for creating new musical vocabulary. I believe you and your bass partner in Basie were also responsible for that. But what was Elvin doing specifically at that time with Coltrane that people? Because for the layperson, it's just, I mean, even John McLaughlin, it took him a year to figure out Love Supreme. What in your mind, what was Elvin doing at that time that was so invigorating, even though you didn't necessarily, play like that?
Yeah, right. But I would hear him create this intensity, and then I would hear him build on the intensity, and then it would be and then another kind of a sound or rhythmic thing would come out of it. And so it just seemed to build no matter what. That's why they could play so long.
But I mean, I feel like, I feel like you guys might have been in some kind different maybe, but when Joe Hunt at some point leave, and what was your next gig after that apprenticeship with those guys, with Pierce and
Joe left, I got all the gigs.
So, I mean, that to me seems like maybe a time when you guys were searching for new sounds, or at least, I mean, you know, because you said Pierce was leading you guys into the musical future.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, yeah, can you, so you were playing like bebop at that point, or were you like trying to stretch out a little bit more?
No, I wasn't necessarily trying to stretch out, but I was playing bebop. I mean, like on the jukebox on my way to church, we heard Charlie Parker's Now's the Time. And that was like a standard jazz sounding to me. So, yeah, that was the kind of jazz we were playing. But when I was out with these other guys, we'd be at these places, because Richmond, Indiana, a lot of bands came through, road bands.
Right.
And we got to play with, like, Claude Thornhill, and that was back when he had Gene Quill, Phil Woods, and
wow,
there was a lot of action going on like that Joe was taking me around, hipping me up to.
Jesus, what was that? I mean, how did that music differ from what was that? That's Phil Woods was in that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if anybody would know who these three people are, Phil Woods, Gene Quill, and John Pierce. I mean, it was like over the rainbow. Yeah, musically. Young as I wanted, I realized I was hearing something really great.
Explain how you. It's interesting because there are other drummers who do actually keep their eyes closed. They don't necessarily want to fixate on something, but how reading those emotions, how did it impact your playing? I mean, would you accentuate that, or would you try to maybe contrast that?
But if you're playing your own kind of music, your own band, and you know the arrangement, and all you have to do is create, yeah, you can close your eyes all day long. You can go to sleep. Yeah, but if you're originating and your own music, sometimes it might help to close your eyes to block out the room action or whatever you might see. So yeah, I'm not saying that my way is the gospel way or the only way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we got a tune. I don't know when the last time you heard it, but I'm going to throw this in for you. I want you to take a listen to it, and we'll come back and break it down.
Okie doke.
This?
I'm going to think that was Oscar Peterson's Soul Espanol.
You know, I mean, I can't get anything by you, man. I can't do it. So, I mean, this is. I mean, we're talking to the most modest cat in the world. I mean, how did you connect with Oscar?
I don't know if this was before or after, but Oscar was going to record in Chicago, and he did record in Chicago, and he called down to get a drummer. Well, he called the drum shop, and the best drummer in town was a guy named Marshall Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that cat.
And so Marshall got a whole lot of the good gigs, and he could read and everything. He was trying to tutor us younger guys about making sure you can read and all this and that. And Marshall got the call for the recording date. Then they said they needed a percussionist. Marshall called me first because he knew I'd been in school studying all these things for a year.
Wow.
And get a chance to use it, you know. But that's how I got on that dating with Oscar. And from then on, when I saw Oscar, you know, he was always polite and a gentleman. Then when I got with Basie, well, I was sitting beside him.
On that particular album, were you playing, what kind of percussion were you playing on Soul Espanol?
You know, I'm going to say it was like 5 or 6 different things. You know, shakers, maracas, claves, you name it, and whatever was on there. Yeah. I got all those things right now. I still got them.
I mean, it's so great because, go ahead.
I've been proud of some of my toys and the things I do. You know, like I got the wood block here. That was the sound of Jackie Robinson's bat in the movie.
Oh.
Of Jackie Robinson.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's awesome. That is.
Yeah, I mean, little stuff. So anyhow, I got a lot of those instruments. still that you keep a feeling for, you know.
I mean, as best you can. I mean, we're going back here over 50 years, but did you cut you're listed as a percussionist on that album. Sam Jones is listed as a bass player. Lewis Hayes is actually listed as the drummer.
No, that was Marshall Thompson.
Marshall Thompson. So, I mean, in the studio at that time, were you going into overdub, or did you all hit live?
We all hit live in the same room.
That to me is a seminal characteristic of your career, is that all the music, that the burning music that you made in the studio, everybody was there hitting live.
Yeah.
Did you ever, to me, that's ultimately how you get the groove to cook so hard, and in today's world, I don't know. I mean, when you get called in today, Don Randy, the piano, like the piano player, he'll say, he'll get called in, they'll plug him in, he'll lay down a keyboard part, and they'll say, okay, that's it, see you later, have a good day.
Yes.
Can you? I mean, I feel like that's hurt the humanity of the music. I realize it's a time saving thing, and the money's exorbitant. But I mean, can you talk about the magic of being in the studio, or a time when, just that ability to create as a unit live together?
Well, you played live together in the studio just like you played live together in the concerts or in any place wherever you played. And once you go into that studio, they had to start taking things like taking the ring out. In a drummer's case, they had to take the ring out of my cymbals, and so that it sounded good over the wire, and they could put in whatever ring they wanted. So they almost took it out, the artistic part, right out of our hands. That was actually our sound.
Exactly.
Yeah. And in my career, I've only had about 3, 4 engineers that I heard the drums sound like I thought they sounded. Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm sorry. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, when I hear recordings back, a lot of the times it doesn't sound like me. The sound that I heard on the drums. It does not sound like the toms, the snare, the cymbals. They don't sound like what I think they sound like.
Wow.
I don't know. Best thing I could give for an example is like in the old days they used to have like that mic overhead.
Exactly. I know what you're getting at, man. They used to have a right and left overhead mic and maybe one mic on the bass drum.
Yeah. Now they have a mic on everything.
Explain. You're talking about one of my biggest issues. What does that do? I know you're not an engineer, but I mean, what does it do to does it muddle the sound? Does it make it you can't hear? Because when I listen to older recordings, the sparsity of the microphones allowed there was a lot of leakage, and that was great, and it allowed it seemed to breathe more. But when you hear that stuff, what is it? What has miking every drum done to the ability of being able to really hear what you think it should sound like?
Yeah, within the drum set.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's not an individual drum. I mean, if they want to go that far, they may as well put a mic on every string, every piano string. I mean, but that's what they're doing. Yeah. So, yeah, the live performances are kind of going out. The only ones that are getting it are the rockers. And even then, it's a whole lot of miking, and a whole lot of volume. But they're the only ones halfway close to what reality is. Yeah.
Wow, that's what, like, when you're in the studio with Tony, how does he?
Has everybody in the same room at the same time.
Can you talk to the engineer or the technicians about how you want them mic'd, or is it just they're just going to mic it so that they have all the modern technology and they do it, or do you have the ability to say, we want a little bit warmer sound on it? Are you able to have that kind of? Go ahead.
son was a drummer. So I mean, you could say, hey, do I need a brush? Do I need a stick sound on this so and so, such and such, or the toms this high or low or such? I don't know what. Do I need taping to take out some of the vibration? And let me do that. He completely is on the same page as us, so it's really very good that he's got the family son right there. Yeah.
Wow, is that interesting stuff? You talk a little bit about the idea of just your approach to, like, your philosophy to music. A lot of I was talking to some cats that were on a Shelly Manne album from the early '70s, and Shelly. The one thing about Shelly was that he just loved to play with younger cats. He loved to just, he was an omnivore when it came to music. And guys like Richie Kamuka and, so many of the older cats would come up to him and say, why are you playing with these young guys, man? Why don't you want to play the real shit? Why don't you want to play the real stuff? The old school. And the same thing happened with, especially when jazz started to become electronic and, and I, people, you would show up at festivals and there'd just be a vibe from the old school crew about, you're not playing the real shit. And, And what did Basie feel that way about it? Was Basie always an omnivore, or was he somewhat like, or was he somewhat judgmental when jazz really started to turn towards, I guess, more like electric, louder fusion music?
Yeah, Basie didn't believe in that, in doing it that way. Neither did Freddie Green. I mean, we'd be playing in a concert hall for 3,000 people, and Freddie Green did not want a microphone on him.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The only persons that got microphones back then were the soloists in the sections. And a whole lot of time, they only had one mic, and each guy had to get up and leave the section early and go down front. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how it was.
What, like, so you the best way to sort of delineate between that was that Basie's band would essentially be playing out of the PA system, relatively unamplified with the exception of a couple of microphones, and then the electric jazz that started to come in, everything was plugged in and everything was amplified, and so. How did, I mean, like, tell me a little bit about, like, I mean, did Basie, what was his definition of jazz? Did he come from the Duke Ellington school? Was it all music, or was there something definitive about the way he perceived melodic improvisation known as jazz?
He came up out of those guys like Art Tatum. I've seen pictures of Basie standing around the piano listening to Thelonious Monk. Wow. And if you listen to some of those Monk tinklings and some of those Basie tinklings, you might hear some familiarity there.
I can you point me? I would love to hear that. That was the last thing I thought you were going to say.
No. I've had to go back and listen now. I can't point you to the exact album. No. But I just say, anytime you listen to anything, even something you've heard before.
It's true.
Check it out. Yeah. So, I mean, Basie was hanging out at those places, those after-hour joints, and he was one of the jammers. And when he ran out of money with the big band, I understand that's when he did the Kansas City 7.
Were you part of that too?
Not when he started it. When we went on tour in Europe, Norman Granz tried to get another act, and I guess he couldn't get the other act to open. Or they canceled, going to Europe because something happened. And so he asked Basie to reform the Kansas City 7. And we'd be like an opening band, and then they'd have the big band, whole band come out on the second half of the show. But, yeah, Kansas City 7, man, that was nothing but smoke. I mean, it was Lockjaw, Sweets,
it's burning, man, burning.
Oh, yeah. So I'd be happy by the time I wasn't even touching.
Tell me, like, where today. I mean, with Tony, do you feel like there's, I mean, I don't know. Part of me used to feel like Miles and people like Lee Morgan were so strong in their belief about what the music that they were playing that they'd say they wouldn't say this vocally, but they'd say to the audience, we dig what we're doing, and we hope you dig what we're doing. But even if you don't dig it, we're still going to play it, And so they weren't. I mean, again, ticket prices weren't $55 or $60. But do you feel like? I mean, aside from just it being a great gig, I mean, how do you get off playing the same tunes the same way every tour?
Man, when you're playing the same song, you can create even more on it because you know the song inside and out. You can create more on a song you know than a song you don't know.
Right.
At least in my belief.
Can you take a song?
Yeah.
Can you give an example?
Well, if I'm learning a song, I play it kind of vanilla when I first start playing it. And over time of playing the same song, you start adding the color. Next thing you know, you got a Crayola box going on here. Yeah. Yeah, man.
What? So I mean, like what? But I mean, what tunes? Which ones of Tony's tunes do you find yourself with the whole Crayola box?
Well, those are the ones where we get a chance to play on where it's something like you don't have to think on like make it one for my baby, one more for the road. That's always a happy sound in the song. Yeah, and the songs he always has a couple of songs in the show that we get to just whatever we want to do. Yeah.
So that like anything you want to do, like he'll actually just allow it for just free, like you guys. First of all, can you just tell me the rhythm section in that band?
Rhythm section right now is Tom Rainier on piano.
Wow.
Excellent cat. Marshall Wood on bass. Excellent cat. And Gray Sargent on guitar. Excellent. So, man, I'm X-rated here. Yeah, it's one of the best. I played in a few good rhythm sections. This is one. Yeah.
Wow.
This is one of the best. Everybody's on the same page.
I hope you guys can make a stop down here in Tucson or in Phoenix. I just would love to come up close and personal and see that stuff.
Yeah, check out the website. Check it out. Yeah, and then give me a call and let me know I'm coming.
I will. This is something I wanted to read to you. This might go back to the days of Pierce but this is from Charlie Neville. I don't know. The Neville brothers, iconic band from New Orleans, and Charlie passed away this year. And he said, we're talking about Elvin. He said Elvin was the locomotion. Deacon John, who was the Union president in New Orleans, said that when he came in that night, the band was setting up, and Elvin was nailing his drums to the floor. Back then, the bass drums weren't that stable, so guys would have big nails and nail them in front of the bass drum to keep it from moving, especially cats like Elvin who were kicking that bass drum. James Black would have a rope or clothesline tied to the bass drum and hook it around the drum stool. So what did Harold Jones, I want to hear about your stories about how you kept the bass drum from moving all over the place.
I did all of those all of the above. Yeah. Way back, it was the nails in front of the bass drum. And then somebody came up with a spur that had a couple of spikes that you could put on the drum rim. But even though it wouldn't go into hardwood, you'd still need a rug. And then doing little casual weddings and things, you had a small drum set, and we had a chain that went around them all. And that way, the chain, you could put it in any length you wanted, and it would stay there. Yeah.
Oh, my God. So, was this... When did that fundamentally... Was that with Basie? Did you have to put the nails in the floor?
Yeah.
Oh, my... So, did you have a roadie do that, or were you actually doing that yourself?
I was actually doing it He's drunk, you know. But we'd have to put a nail maybe in the floor where the spike couldn't go past it if it was a slick floor. But I guess that's when they started inventing platforms, and they got little stages now for drum sets. So we got our own stage. It's been hammered in and nailed and everything. Yeah.
It's unbelievable, man. But let me ask you when Lee mentioned that you were going to be going to the Bahamas. When are you leaving?
You know what? That got canceled.
It got canceled.
Yes, it did.
Well, that was it for gigs? You had gigs down there?
Oh, we only had a private party.
Well, listen, I would love. I'm going to be up in Napa, doing an assignment up in Napa Valley from the 15th through the 22nd, and I would love to come by and do a Facebook Live video interview with you if you would be up for that.
You know, I would, man. But that's right at about the time my relatives are in town. And I think we're going up to Tahoe for some time. We all chip in and go and get one big place, you know. Call me. Can you call me anytime?
Yeah, no,
that.
well, no, I mean, yeah, that's fantastic. It would be great to do something in a video form and inspire some people around the world. So if not this time, then definitely. And yeah, I'll check the website. But do you play other gigs outside of the Bennett gigs that are ever announced?
Only things around here that they're very rare. That maybe something I come up with the big band, or if somebody calls me to do something like a festival or something.
Harold Jones, part 2 in the book. We got more to do. Such a class act and a beautiful cat. That's it for the Jake Feinberg Show. I'm sure we'll have more in store this week. Until then, peace.